9, you will elect officers and register for the state competition. Registration for next year's classes continues today during spark time. Sophomores all report to your advisor. They will walk you to the auditorium. You will step together as a group. Make sure you have your computer and your computer is charged, as you will need your computer to register for next year's courses. And each advisor will check that before you leave the auditorium. If you're a 9th, 11th, or 12th grade student, you all also report. Many of you are assigned and approved to take the STRIDE survey. Once that survey is complete, it should take maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes at the most.
You need to pick one.
Will be dismissed. That are
The Pride Across the Multiverse Secret.
Required to stay in Spartan time, you will stay at that time as well. 9th, 11th, and 12th graders, make sure you report to Spartan time.
Stonewall Riot.
Freshmen, you will complete your registration on Friday, and sophomores that are due to take.
They were friends, but then they did a pen pal thing on a message board at Ravnica and found out that they were accidentally dating.
Participate track this spring and you contact Coach Nida. And anyone thinking or planning to pole vault this year, you need to talk to Mr. Nida before the end of the week. That practice starts January 1st. Regular track practice for those not in winter activity begins February 27th. Football tickets still being sold in the commons, $7. You wait until Saturday night, it's $10. That's before. You need your student ID. If you do not have an ID, the office will print them until noon on Friday. After Friday at noon, they will not print any more IDs. Make sure also if you're bringing an out of school or out of town guest, that form is turned in Thursday, tomorrow by 12:30. 12:30 for Thursday for out of town guest forms. And make sure you have your ID. A picture of that for that student ID on your phone will suffice on Saturday evening. So please stand for the pledge. To the pledge.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All I can
Okay, do you try to focus on this until you're done? I want to give you as much time as possible for your quiz today. Some kids take longer than others. 3, 5, negative 3, negative 3. Negative 3, negative 3, negative 3. 3, negative 5, negative 17, 9, negative 3. 554, 76. 6. So negative 17. 1476. Negative 2. Gone to 7, 2.
Never mind, I see what I saw. Never mind, there's no factors. Never mind.
6,
Forget
2.
multiple answers.
2, 7.
He's not weird.
Nope, mine came out clean.
Yeah, I knew what I did wrong. I found it.
I mean, they should. I'll double check it. Oh, Mental Mojo missed a negative, but yeah, all clean. Integers across the board. Remember, for this, for your quiz, right answer doesn't mean diddly if your work does not match it. Okay? More and more of you are figuring out where the sneaky part of the calculators are. That's all well and good. You go ahead and check your answer, but you will get a 0 out of 10 on this, on your 30-point quiz, if your work does not match your answer, because you are trying to BS it. Okay? By all means, check your answer, go back and figure out where you went wrong. But if your work does not match your answer, I am taking full points off, because you are not doing it. And worse yet, you're trying to lie about it. I would rather you got it wrong and ended up in just abysmal fraction town of your own merit. Had one just this morning. Every bit of the math was right. Wrote the problem down wrong. It happens. I would give full credit for that. I would give full credit for that. If you wrote the problem down wrong and you did every bit of it correctly, you showed me you know how to do a system. Full credit. Okay? Do it by your own merit. We do the review together. Okay? I understand this might take you a little bit longer, but we should not be going at 15 minutes plus for a single problem. You got 3 minutes to finish it up. Oh, you're not going to let me show the thing. Wait. Come on now. No. If I show a pause, who eliminated X's first? Looks like we're about 3/4 or more. Y's? No one chose the hard path. Z's? Okay. I'm just seeing who did what. I would have also gone with X because I see a coefficient of 1. That identification skill is going to come back to us in Chapter 6 when we do these by matrices. You want to identify a coefficient of 1 or -1 because it just makes life easier. Label equation 1, 2, and 3. I will use equation 1 to knock out both the 3x and the -2x. If I go -3 by equation 1, -3 by all that stuff is -3x, -50x plus 9z, y, plus 9z is 54. And equation 2, 3x minus 2y plus 5z is 22. Additionally, I'm going to have 2 by equation 1. We'll say 2 of those, 2 of those, 2 of those, 6. Just completely messed the variable, right? Talking and writing at the same time is tough. Okay, by 2 minus 6, z is -36. There we go. With equation 3. -2x, 3y. There we go. When you do x's, bye-bye, x's, bye-bye. And you end up with a -17y plus 14z is 76. Looks kind of spooky, big numbers. Get 7y plus 2z is, what's that, -8? Yeah. And it turns out it's actually not too bad. Because my two variable system that now only has y's and z's in it, I have some compatible numbers within there. Z's are 14z and 2z. Very, very easy to take this times a -7, getting a -49y, a -14z, and a positive 56. We'll have a negative, what's that, 56, 66? Y, bye-bye, 120, 132, which when I divide is nice and easy, -2. Go back to either one of those two equations and plug in y. I'll use this guy. 7 by y plus 2z is -8. Plug -2 in. I now have a -14 plus 2z is -8. Add 14, get a 6, divide by 2, z is 3. Right? 6, 3, 2, 5, yeah. And then, if I know y and I know z, I go all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to go find out what x was because that was the thing that I eliminated. I'll use equation 1. X plus 5 of these minus 3 of those is negative 18. We said these and those are negative 2 and 3 respectively. So I should have x minus 10 minus 9, negative 18. So x is uno. And yet again, just to make that one kid twitch a little, my answer is 1, negative 2, 3. It's close. Not quite 1, 2, 3. Again, I moved my organization around a little bit because I wasn't able to resize this window to make space the way that I normally like to. You should have eliminated a variable 2 different ways. You should have solved your 2-variable system for one variable and then the other, and then finish it off by going to find your initially removed variable, your third one, the 5 pieces of it. Now this is one of those things where as long as you did those 5 steps, you're on the right path. You might have just arithmetic wrong. Okay? Sometimes we just have a brain fart and we say negative 2 plus 3 is 6. Oops. Okay? Sometimes you just have a brain fart there. So as long as you did those 5 steps, eliminated a variable 2 different ways, got your 2-variable system solved, and then brought it back to find whatever the thing was you eliminated, this is one of the times that we're going to instead go with a Likert scale. If anyone knows what a Likert scale is, I bet there's only 2 people in the room who know what that is. Likert scale is a rating scale. Pretty simple. 5. You got all the way to the end of the rainbow. You got all the work to back it up. Everything matches. You're great. 4. You got one little error in there. You know exactly where it is. Everything else was perfect, but I missed a negative. Okay? 3. You got multiple arithmetic errors in there. You followed all the steps. You did the process correctly, but maybe I should use a calculator from now on. 2. You completely goofed the process itself. You didn't even get to the end of the rainbow because you were so lost in number soup. 1. At least you tried something that looked like math. You didn't just write down the problem, you actually attempted stuff and it went nowhere. 0. You didn't even do that. You just wrote down the problem and sat there staring at it. It's ketchup. This class is PG. Okay. Oh, that's about the color it is at Culver's when they water it down. So, mark it something out of 5. And then, the homework, yes. Number 1 came out nice. Number 2, it didn't. It originally did. And then I went in and I changed literally just one number on the original problem to make it go nasty. Okay. Oh, it did go nasty. Everything was like something out of 23 or whatever for the answers. Like they were gross. Let the calculator do the work for you when you get into Fraction Town. There's nothing wrong with checking. Okay, if you're in PreCalc, odds are you have some portion of your self-esteem and your self-worth tied to perfectionism and being the smart one. Okay? Stop it. That's not healthy. It's okay to check. It's okay to count on your fingers. It's okay to say, you know what, I just can't math today. That's all right. I use the calculator to double check my work on that. And then the third one was just graph it, graph it, graph it. Where do they all line up? And it was like that little soul patch in the middle. Okay. So, for those who have not been in here before, this is how it works. When we get to review and quiz day, you're going to have your daily check just like normal. And then we go through the review together. After the review, devices to the counter. Make sure they're off or silent, not on vibrate, not, well, no one ever texts me this hour anyway. Off or silent. Otherwise, I will walk over here and I will keep spamming stuff at the entire class until I figure out which one is making noise. I'll pick that one up and say, good job, you got a 0 on your test. It is very disrespectful to just leave something that is completely preventable an issue for those who are still working, right? Okay, just turn it off or silent. It's that easy. Be respectful of those who are still working. Now, like I said yesterday, if you need your jams to work, I am the same way. I cannot work in dead silence. I always put on just some instrumental music or something in the background, like, I don't know, cellos or something. Just something in the background, because I can't work in silence. If you got your own jams, as long as your device is over here, fine, I don't care. Throw in your AirPods and just jam out while you math. Cool. Okay. Oh, also after doing the review, we mix it up. Okay. That and that ain't happening. Scramble yourselves up around the room. I don't want you sitting at the same table that you normally sit at with other people. Okay. It just removes temptation for shenanigans. Okay. There's a whole other table over there. We've got, what, 24 seats for 18 kids. Y'all can mix it up. Okay. As we're going through the review, write notes to yourself. If there's ever anything that goes on up here and you're like, oh, okay, write it. You can literally tell yourself on number 2, don't square like a freshman. Like, you can tell yourself how to do the quiz. Because everything in here is open notes, open book, open everything. You get to tell yourself how to do this quiz. So use the review to its maximum benefit, because that is how a truly supported functional adult works. We got cheaters all over the place. I want you to think about your parents or your boss. Who knows that person that's got just sticky notes everywhere? Okay? Like, they put the sticky note on the fridge so they remember to do the thing, because otherwise they're never going to remember to do the thing. Okay? So, here we go. The first one will be about sets. Use a diagram to find, what does that say? Intersection and union. Just like we did our parentheses before exponents, before multiple, blah, 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 when we did order of operations, I'm going to do the same thing here. In fact, it would be a good idea to maybe do a little bit of light shading with it, that I'm going to take care of this part first. R union M. That means everything that's in R or M. So it's all this stuff. Everything in there. But then it says intersect M. Or sorry, K. So the intersection says it has to be in K. Has to be. in K. So any of the stuff that's in here or here, but it has to be in K. So there is my answer. Just those three, 30, 38, 46. And year after year, if I have this kind of problem on the test, I will have kids do that, and then they move on to the next problem. And they will get half off because they haven't answered all of the questions. I need you to go forwards and reverse. That's, here's the set symbols, tell me what the set is. In reverse, here's the set, you have to tell me in symbols what that means. That's why I said do lightly on here. Because 26, that guy. 46, that guy. 38, that guy. 30, that guy. And 40. How can I say that? You are going to have to use parentheses.
Do you have to use parentheses for that? I just wrote down K or R because it's technically all those are within K or R.
Is it? Can I just do K or R? Yeah. You could do that with extra complicated double sets of parentheses, or if you see, wait a second. Isn't that just everything in there? Okay. So that's your answer. K union R. Yep. With the universal set, be careful. There's probably going to be a number floating outside the circles. So if I ever use not, make sure you're remembering outside the circles is not in the set. Okay, that's a thing. But y'all did pretty good with sets. 2. Simplify as a complex number, and we said this multiple times throughout the last week. You can leave as a plus bi over c unless the directions say write it as a complex number. What do I have to do because it says write it as a complex number? Separate your real friends from your imaginary friends. You have to do that for your answer because that's the way the directions are written. Okay. I'm not allowed to have any radicals downstairs. They stir up the kids, give them bad ideas. And I is a square root of -1. So how do I get that out of there? Conjugates. That, right? Getting a couple of the squinty eyebrows of disapproval. Because, remember, you only change the sign in the middle. If it was a plus bi, you switch to a minus bi, not negative a minus bi. Okay, you only change the sign in the middle. -1 plus 4, I. When you disturb it however you feel like it. Disturb it. I grew up on Bert and Ernie, right? When you distribute, you got to make sure that you have some method of organization for it, whether it's finger tracking and foil, whether you go box method, Punnett square style, whether you do the spaghetti monster and draw all of your arrows. However you do it, just make sure you don't multiply these through like a freshman. 4 by -1. 4 by 4i. -3i by -1. -3i by 4i. And now, as you know, the whole lot of you are sophomores and above, you understand why we ragged on you all the time as freshmen. Oh, I was thinking of, I just got beef with freshmen because freshmen don't make very good decisions. Case in point, my microwave is gone because a freshman walked out of here with a smoking cloud of popcorn yesterday after school. How do you, like, I understand how you burn popcorn, but how do you burn it so bad that there's a cloud of smoke following you down the hallway as you run away? It's at home, and I'm hoping I can clean it out.
Did it like get the microwave super dirty?
It's just nasty in there. It reeks of just charred everything.
Which one was it?
Dakota.
Of course it was.
Okay, multiply these ones through. -1 by -1 is 1. -1 by 4i is -4i. -4i by -1 is +4i. -4i by 4i is -16i squared. And as we reviewed, I squared is what? So I'll cross this out and call it +12. Cross this out, call it +16. Do not just make the whole denominator poof out of existence. I have seen kids write the conjugates here, and then they think they can just Thanos snap out the denominator. It doesn't work that way. Multiply it all the way through. It just means there's no i's there now. This will always cancel. Shoop, shoop. And now I have real friends with real friends. -4 plus 12 is 8. Imaginary friends with imaginary friends plus 19 i's over 1 plus 16 is 17. You get here, you get 1 off because you're going to see this on your paper. Means that's exactly where you went wrong. Separate your real friends from your imaginary friends. I know some of you got the mental math mojo. I know at least one of you has a cool calculator. If you don't got the work to back it up, I ain't counting it. As long as you got the work to back it up, you wrote the stuff last semester, I'm just reminding you. Okay? You gotta have the work to back it up. Isn't?
Wouldn't the, well, I think I confused myself. I'm pretty sure there's.
It was -12i squared, so it becomes +12.
How do I still have that?
Ooh. Where do you still have the negative? Okay. It happens. It's okay.
Well, no, I had it, and then I did my arithmetic wrong, and I had 6 instead of 8. So I was going back anyway, and I was
Gotcha.
like, oh, why am I wrong on multiple rules?
When I say that you need to show your work, this isn't just, crabby old math teacher says you have to show your work. It's because I want to give you partial credit if you're wrong. You're not, if all you write is an answer and you don't have anything to back it up, I take 5 off. Because there's nothing else there.
Isn't it?
Okay?
Was it -8 over 17?
Positive, right?
Where did the sign change? That's this side.
Okay, so that was denominator.
So it's this one, it's -8, and it's over.
I squared is -1, so +12.
I don't know why I had it.
Okay. Graph the quadratic, label the vertex, axis symmetry, and y-intercept. Do y'all know multiple ways to graph a quadratic? Does it say you have to do it a specific way? You do it how you're going to do it. For you, if that is, I dump this into Y1, dump it on my calculator, go find, put Blinky on both sides to find my vertex, write out what my vertex and axis symmetry are, and then plot the rest of the points by table, golden. Or I can do it manually with perfect square steps. Remember that my axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. Since I am specifically telling you this right before the test, x equals negative b over 2a. An axis of symmetry is a line. Lines have equations. If you say my axis of symmetry is 5, 5 ain't an equation. I'm going to take one off. X equals 5. Okay? So, negative thing over 2 by thing. When we say AB, we're talking about ax squared plus bx plus c in general form. I'm going to plug in b is 6, a negative 3/4. I know some of us are terrified of fractions. Please don't be. Because dividing by fractions is easy as pie. Flip the second multiply. If I take a negative 6 over a negative 3/2, again, the 2 and the 4 will reduce down, right? I multiply by negative 2/3. Getting 4. Negative over negative. Number one error that kids make on these is literally right here and just messing up parentheses and negatives. Okay. Cool. I know that there's an axis symmetry at 4. Since my directions specifically asked for it, I'm going to say x equals 4 is my axis of symmetry. And then to find the rest of my vertex, since this happens to go through my vertex, I'm going to go find the function of 4 by plugging it into negative 3/4 by x squared plus 6 thing plus 6. 4, get in there. Getting, nope, orange, there. I said orange. 4 squared is 16, negative 3/4 of that is negative 12. 6 by 4 is 24, plus 6. Negative 12 by 24 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. Ruh-roh, Reggie. I only got 10 boxes. Go by twos. Oh. So I'm going to go all the way up here to 2, 4, 6, 18. And I write my vertex is at 418. Y'all, this problem should look familiar. It's one taken right out of our homework. We did this one in class.
What's the notation you used on right there? Because I would just put like the scale as like, I would write it 20 on each axis.
Oh, I just said times 2. Okay. Y-axis by 2. Remember, you don't have to do the x and y-axes by the same scale. From there, could I find that manually and then go plot points from my calculator? Yeah, I can mix and match. If you're going to use your perfect square steps, you got to be careful that I'm not going over 1, up 1 anymore. I'm going over 1, down 3/4 because I have that compression to it. Instead of going over 2 and up 4, I'm going over 2 and I take that 4 times a negative 3/4, down 3. I'll go over 3, not up 9, down 27/4. And they start getting nasty. We said that we can avoid the nasty fractions by only picking what? Pick the good ones. Okay, it's like when you're trick-or-treating, right? what is left at the end of the bag? It's all of the like Smarties and Skittles and Suckers and stuff because everyone ate the Snickers already, right? If I'm going to use perfect squares to graph this, and I have a compression of 3/4, 3/4, I want to use perfect squares that are divisible by 4 because then I should have integer values. I'm going to go over 2 down, not 4, 3/4, down 3. Over 2 down 3. I just got to remember that's a box and a half because of my scale. I'll go over, I won't go over 3. I'm going to go over 4 because 4 squared is 16. 16 is divisible by 4. It's a nice, easy number. So I'm going to go over 4 down, not 16, 3/4 of that. 3/4 of 16. Oof. 12. Okay. Over 4 down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Over, I ain't going over 5 because that would have me going down 75/4. Blech. Instead, I'm going to go over 6 down, not 36, 3/4 of that. What is 3/4 of 36? 27. I'm going to go over 6 and down 27. So there's 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 27's halfway through the box. If I'm 2 to the right, I go 2 to the left. If I'm 3 to the right, I go 3 to the left. If I'm 4 to the right, I go 4 to the left. Connect the dots, try to keep it curvy. Beyonce, not Amanda Seyfried. Okay. You flip the page over, you get 1 off. Read the directions. Y-intercept. The y-intercept should be the easiest thing on here because if I put 0 in for x, I just get 6. Right? Y-intercept is always 0, comma thing because it's on the y-axis where x equals 0. Make sure you label your yint as 0, 6. Y'all, is there anything wrong with graphing by perfect square steps versus graphing by points on a calculator? Can I mix and match? Could I do one and then check with the other? All I care is that you graph it and label stuff. That's it. Okay? But we should be able to graph a parabola because this is now the 3rd, maybe 4th class that we've done it in. Okay? Those perfect square steps should have been beat into our skull for the last few years. I know that you know how to quadratic formula because that's how you got through those last 3 years. So you're going to do this one by complete the square. We're going to force the issue. Completing the square, if you want to write your steps on here. Remember our steps. Step 1, I do variables left, constants right. Like a middle school dance. Boys over here, girls over there, and he's in the middle staring at everyone weird. Okay, you're going to have that awkward space in between because I want that space open so I can put the perfect number there to complete my perfect square trinomial. I'm going to put 9x squared and negative 16x over here. I'll add 2 to the other side. Then, if I want to find that perfect number, I need to get rid of that a value because it's messing everything up. Okay, divide everything by a. Currently, A is a 9, so I'm going to divide everything by 9. Getting x squared minus 16 ninths x is 2 ninths. Remember that these two steps are interchangeable. You can do them one before the other, vice versa. You can also just do them at the same time. And I know a lot of you were doing that as we went through these problems. 3. Now that I have x with or x squared with a coefficient of 1, I'm going to add the perfect number, and that perfect number is b over 2 the quantity squared. So you identify, and I know some of us were a little fuzzy on this. When I say b, I'm talking about my current b, not the b in the original, extra crispy. Currently, b is 16 ninths. What's half of that? Yo, what's half of 16 pancakes? 8 pancakes. What's half of 16 ninths? 8 ninths. Negative 8 ninths. And then I'm going to square it, which results in a positive. I will add 64 81sts. Is there anything wrong with using that calculator and saying negative 16 over 9 over 2 parentheses squared? Right? B over 2 squared. I can do that. No problem. Now, because this is now a perfect square trinomial, just a butt ugly one, I can write it as the quantity x plus b over 2 squared is some number. It's always going to be x plus b over 2. I had someone come in this morning and they were just double checking, how do I know if this is plus or minus? Well, half of a negative number is a negative number, right? So when I'm adding half of b, then it's, if b is positive or negative, that informs my sign in here as well. This is going to be x minus 8 ninths. Quantity squared is, looks like I need common denominators. By 9 is 18 81sts plus 64 81sts is, what's that, 72, 82 81sts? Ew.
Why was it minus 8 ninths?
Always shares a sign because it's half of b.
Oh, right.
If b is negative, half of that negative is still negative.
Oh.
And then
I have it right here.
solve by square root. If I square root something squared, they just cancel town. X minus 8 ninths is, if I square root a fraction, it's a fraction of separate square roots, which is why I never, ever, ever, ever want to go to decimal town when I'm doing these. 9 times out of 10, that denominator is going to be a perfect square, so this step comes out nicely. This is a plus or minus square root of 82 over 81 becomes just 9. And then add that over, you're at your final answer. X is, leave it as a compound number, 8 ninths plus or minus root of 82 over 9, and root of 82 cannot be simplified. That I remember. What if that was a negative 82? Make sure you bring that I out. Okay.
Don't touch that board.
Yes, ma'am. You can tell who's got younger siblings.
I like saw it and I was like, oh, we could simplify it like that. Why are you allowed to? I'm completely like not mentally here anymore.
That is concerning.
You.
Because I was like,
Oh,
oh, that
it's
could be.
half of B, not C. The thing that goes here.
I just wrote the wrong thing there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're good. But C is.
The C value will be 64/81. That's what you're adding to both sides to make it perfect. Yep. Put it in radical form. You got a bunch of different routes to go here. Probably the easiest one is going to be, you can simplify it and then deal with rational exponents, or I can just throw it all into rational exponents right now and then start simplifying. Your choice. Personally, I'd rather clean stuff up before moving things around. Anyone who's ever rearranged their room knows it's probably a bad idea to start moving your bed if there's a bunch of crap under your bed. So I'm going to bring an x squared out here, and I'm going to bring a y squared out here before anything else, just to make sure that I can simplify stuff. So now I'm at x squared on the outside, y on the inside. I'm at y squared on the outside, fourth root of x squared on the inside. You see anything else I can do? Don't worry about absolute value until the very, very end. Anything else I can do? I see two things. One, we specifically talked about yesterday with our daily check. Isn't this x to the 2/4? So can't I call that 2/1? Or 1/2, sorry. Right? If that becomes x to the 2/4, then it's x to the 1/2. That also allows me to reduce when I have the radical itself. I could do it there, or I could just call this x squared times y to the 1/2 and y squared x to the 1/2. So you can go in or out of radical land as you choose. The reason I wanted to leave it in that radical land is because if I rewrite this as x squared square root of y over y squared square root of x, no radicals downstairs. What do I need to do to get rid of that square root of x? Multiply. I'll multiply this by square root of x, multiply this by square root of x. So up top, what's outside of radical land stays outside. X squared. What's inside radical land stays in radical land. Root of xy. Downstairs, what's outside of radical land? But if I take square root of x times square root of x, I get just x. Okay, no more radicals downstairs. You move on with your life. You get 2 off. Now that all of those x's are outside of radical land, I have to double check that I can simplify any of it. X squared over x can be simplified. So now that's x root of xy over y squared. I said 2 off because now that I've reached the end of the rainbow, didn't I take stuff out of even radicals? So I need that absolute value on who? Only the x. Y squared don't need it. When you go to rational exponent land and you take stuff out and rationalize, it depends on which radical is left. If I have an even radical left, I need it. If I have an odd radical left, I don't. I need, yep. Been like 13 years teaching pre-calc. I don't think I've ever had anyone ask that. That's a good question. Y'all, sometimes you can make your life easier. Couldn't I do this right away? And then I don't want to have a radical down here. By the way, this is 2 and this is 1/2, right? If I don't want to have a radical here, and I understand that this is just y to the second and it's not a radical, I could kind of cheat and say 2 minus 1/2 is x to the 3/2 upstairs, y to the 1/4 upstairs. This is gone now, y squared downstairs. As long as I don't have my radical downstairs, we're okay. And then I break this up as x on the outside, x on the inside, right? X to the 2/2, x to the 1/2. 4th root of y. And then I could, just like I can reduce stuff, I can also make them bigger. I can double this guy. So they all go into the same radical. Multiplication is commutative. Exponents are repeated multiplication. I'm just saying you have different ways to work your way towards that final answer. You can work in radical town or in exponent town. Both are fair game. And then 3-variable system. We just went through one for our daily check, right? I'm just going to assume that we're okay with this. All right. Devices over there, scramble yourselves up. Huh?